Hey, Verballers. Navy Federal is proud to serve over 8 million members and is open to active duty military, the DoD, veterans, and their family members. Receive a lifetime of membership benefits like a credit card APR average that is 4% lower than the industry's, member-only exclusive rates, and more. Visit NavyFederal.org/solid for more information. Call 1-888-842-6328 or download the Navy Federal Credit Union app today. Message and data rates may apply. Visit NavyFederal.org for more information.
Welcome to the Solid Verbal.
The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo woo.
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildebrand. Joining me now, over there in Chicago, my man Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
I'm good. The Solid Baby World Tour continues.
It continues, the North American tour.
Yeah.
How's little man doing on the planes? Is he all right with that?
He's great on the planes. He did literally crap his diaper.
Okay.
15 minutes before landing.
They do that.
Descent.
You're aware that they do that.
Yeah. He was good. He didn't complain or anything like that. You feed him on takeoff and landing, and I guess the pressure on their ears isn't bad because they're constantly swallowing from their bottle.
Sure.
So that was good. And then I guess the women's bathroom was packed and disgusting for Jody with an eye to change him. So not unlike, when the kicking unit is rushed out onto the field.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is disorganized. I don't know if they're going to get the snap off. I rushed into men's bathroom at O'Hare, and we doinked that diaper through, Ty.
Okay.
We doinked it through. It wasn't pretty, but little man was clean and on his way to the burbs. So no complaints. And now I'm broadcasting from my brother-in-law's childhood bedroom, a lot of University of Texas stuff everywhere. Threw some pillows on the wall, and hopefully I sound intelligible, if that's a word.
Sure. Well, welcome back to the show. Not just to you, but to everyone listening, wherever you may be. We are the Solid Verbal. You can find us year-round here on this here podcast, talking about all things college football. SolidVerbal.com is the website where you can find all the new and noteworthy stuff about our show and sign up for our newsletter, the newsletter of intent. We won't spam you, we promise. You can also find us out there on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We've got a subreddit started by Verballers for Verballers. You know the drill if you want to join the discussion. And finally, you can find the podcast, again, year-round all throughout the off-season, once a week until the season starts when we switch it up to twice a week, wherever you can download podcasts. So be it Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all the usual hotspots. Yeah, Google Play, you name it. You can find us in all the usual podcasting hotspots. Go back and check out our previous stuff that we've done this off season. We've been having a good time, and we haven't quite figured out what we're going to do next, but we've got some other shows coming up in the pipeline that we're pretty excited about. This year, for the first time, maybe ever, Dan.
Yeah.
We're not going to put our resident NFL draftniks in a box and say, okay, who's going to go first? Right. Who's going to go 14th, barring trades?
What are the Bengals going to do?
Not going to do that this year because it's an impossible task. Even the best draftniks out there get like 4 picks right. So What we're going to do this year is a retrospective. Going to look at it in hindsight, looking back. Got a special guest we're excited about. Going to talk about the draft after all the madness plays out and then grade it a little bit later on.
It's like having a meteorologist on after the forecast and after the day has come and gone. And we'll just talk to him or her and say, hail, right? What was that about?
Exactly.
And then the meteorologist will say, well, it's when there's a condensation situation, when it gets pretty cold, maybe, I don't know if it's high pressure or low pressure. You would know better than I, because you were going to be a meteorologist, right?
I thought about it. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did think about it.
So we're going to just talk about why players are valued or not valued the way they are, according to the NFL, and what that means moving forward for teams, players, schemes, whatever. So that'll be after the draft. And if I may, can I jump in real quick? With
Sure, please.
A shameless bit of promotion. You already know this because it's on the feed, but if somehow your eyes glazed over it and you didn't care, that's fine. But I'm going to say it one more time because you heard it on the feed already. I've got a new podcast, Ty.
What's that about, Dan? Are you cheating on me?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Man.
And it's okay because I'm telling you to your face. This is an open relationship and that's how it works.
I guess.
I am now hosting and producing and co-writing, whatever, a show called Sports Wars for a company called Wondery, which has put out a lot of really big, impressive podcasts. They're based in LA. And Sports Wars is what it sounds like. It's just we're reviewing, rehashing some sports rivalries, but not really in like a huge, big picture. Like I was going to say Monstars versus the Toon Squad. And I was like, actually, that would be pretty great. Rehash. More of like the first arc is Brett Favre versus Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers, sitting for 3 years behind Brett Favre, and we go back to their college time. So there is some crossover there, but it's really cool. They do shows. Wondery does shows called Business Wars and Legal Wars, and now they do Sports Wars, and I'm the person who does that with a number of other talented people. So it's very cool. The production value is very high, and I couldn't be prouder to be a part of it.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited for you, man.
Sports Wars.
I kid, but I'm very excited. I'm excited to hear what's in the queue. So check it out if you haven't already. Verballers Sports Wars.
That'd be great.
Featuring yours truly, and by yours truly I mean him truly, Dan Rubenstein. Yeah. All right. Yeah. What are we doing today, huh? We got a show planned?
Show, Ty Hildenbrand. What's it? Today's April 17th.
April the 17th, yeah.
April the 17th. Which means I believe Oregon's spring game is this coming Saturday. Has Notre Dame had its spring game?
Notre Dame did have its spring game, yes.
All I saw from that was your future savior, Phil Jerkovic.
That's right.
Jerkovic. Not super good?
No, there's a little bit of concern. I know. I remember when he was recruited. He was a blue chip recruit. But when he came in, I watched some of the highlights. And I'm not going to fashion myself any kind of throwing expert. Okay, any kind of mechanical. No, I know it's hard to believe.
Noted high school second baseman?
I'm not George Whitfield out there coaching the quarterbacks.
But you were excited.
Superstardom. I was pretty excited about Phil Jerkovic. But he's got a little bit of a wonky delivery.
Okay.
And then I saw Brian Kelly talking about Phil Jerkovic. He was, of course, more diplomatic about it because it's one of his players, but he just basically said, he's got a lot of stuff going on with that delivery. Well, a lot of stuff going on that we got to try and iron out. So, yes, it's mildly concerning. Thankfully, Ian Buck.
He's a back. We're leading with Notre Dame's backup quarterback in a spring game, to be clear.
It organically got here. There are some concerns about Phil Jerkovic. They'll hopefully iron things out. But yes, to answer your question, Notre Dame's spring game was this past weekend. Spring games are ongoing now. It's that time of year as we get into mid-April. We've got a list of teams here that have gone through their spring games. Yeah. And we're going to focus in on the sources of optimism that have arisen from spring practice, some of these spring games that we've seen, a handful of programs. And we're not going to do a fantasy things draft. That's for later.
We're not drafting.
We're not drafting. We're not doing anything like that. But we are talking about spring things.
Yeah, spring things, and as it relates to Phil Jerkovic, Jim Furyk has made a lot of money, Ty, with a wonky delivery. So
he has.
There's that. Maybe he's just Hideo Nomo.
It's
Maybe
up there.
He's just
okay.
Hideo Nomo.
It's different.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about topics other than Phil Jerkovic's wonky delivery.
I just know that I wanted to.
Which feels like it could be a fantasy thing selection now.
Oh, God.
The more we talk about
that's the annual esoteric Notre Dame thing that gets Notre Dame fans super excited and riled up, and everybody else in the crowd like, yeah, okay, another Brian Kelly thing. I love that. That's my favorite thing. So
there will be one of those this year.
We'll dive in later. So I have a list of 5 states. Not American states, but schools ending in state. The sort of state of the state, spring optimism thing or not a thing edition. It's a mouthful.
They are American states, though, to be clear.
Yeah, they are all American states, and they also have the word state in their title. And here's what we're going to do. You mentioned the optimism keyword. We're going to go through each of these 5 schools, these state schools, and I'm going to present to you an optimistic spring narrative.
Okay.
And you and I will each decide, maybe we'll agree, maybe we'll disagree. If we were truly doing like a Sirius XM cable, sports cable news, we would agree to disagree on each of them. Like, okay, which side do you want? Okay, cool. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. So we are going to decide whether or not this optimistic spring narrative will indeed be a fall autumnal thing.
Whoa.
Or not a thing.
What was that? Autumnal?
Autumnal time.
Holy crap. Okay, go ahead.
Hell yeah.
Keep going.
Let's start here. Because this is a school that I would love to see succeed because I've enjoyed watching his offenses and his teams in years past. Mississippi State. That's right. We're leading with Klanga.
Yeah.
So the optimistic spring narrative would be that their passing game in year 2 of the Joe Moorhead era, with a new starting quarterback in Keaton Thompson, will be competent / above average / impressive / promising. Whereas these past couple seasons, one with Moorhead, one without, one in the Dan Mullen era, not necessarily the case.
Okay. So
the optimistic view is, we're in like mid-October, we look up and say, Mississippi State, complete offense, fun, interesting, weird, new, that kind of thing.
Okay. I would amend this optimism a bit.
Okay.
I would not focus solely on the passing game. I would focus on the quarterback position as a whole. Now, with Nick Fitzgerald leaving, that opens the door for Keaton Thompson to get some more regular experience at the quarterback position. Going to be a true junior. Right. Saw some limited action, played in 6 games last year, 13.7 yards per attempt, but a sub 50% completion percentage. Mm-hmm. I think that's what you should probably expect at this point.
Not cracking 50.
Might not crack 50. Will probably hover around 50. But he brings a lot to the equation with his legs. Ran for almost 10 yards per carry and 4 touchdowns. So what I like about this scenario, again, if I'm going to home in specifically on the quarterback position now with Joe Moorhead and Keaton Thompson, he brings a lot more to the equation, I think,
Nick Fitzgerald ran the ball plenty well
as a passer than Nick Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
While at the same time bringing, I think, the same amount of effectiveness in the running game as well. I'm very optimistic.
You're optimistic that he will be a playmaker.
Oh my God. What Joe Moorhead can do with this kind of player. We saw it a little bit with Trace McSorley at Penn State. Before he left Penn State, Joe Moorhead,
he had accuracy issues for sure going into the Moorhead era.
I think Trace was a little bit of a better passer, at least through the early days here of Keaton Thompson. But we've seen what Moorhead can do when he's got a dual threat guy with this skill set. And I was a little bit surprised it didn't happen sooner with Nick Fitzgerald, but I think just in the brief moments that we've seen of Keaton Thompson thus far in Starkville, there's a lot of reason to be truly optimistic about what he can do now in that system led by Joe Moorhead.
So you don't think that he will be able to complete enough gimmies that we believe, and I know they have a new offensive coordinator, I believe that Joe Moorhead will be able to give him some gimmies and RPOs and screens that he should be able to get his completion percentage to 50 plus. You are not a believer in even getting enough guppies to get to 50.
Well, I think it's going to be around 50. I don't know if it's 49.8 or 51.2, but it's around 50. I think that's a reasonable expectation. I think that's the kind of quarterback Keaton Thompson is. But I think the fact that he is so dynamic with his legs, the fact that he's got a coach in Joe Moorhead who knows how to use that skill set, he will find a way to emphasize Keaton Thompson's best qualities and use them effectively.
Yeah, the problem, though, is the reports out of spring is that exactly what you said. He's impressive. He's a playmaker. He knows the offense, but accuracy, making pre-snap reads, not necessarily his strength. Huge arm strength, huge arm in general. And if we are to believe that he will be an improvement over Nick Fitzgerald, it's not that he is suddenly Cam Newton, Marcus Mariota, Johnny Manziel, and just a total game changer in every respect. It's that when they are running the ball well and somebody gets wide open deep on play action, he won't overshoot them by 8 yards. That's the baseline, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And in a division with LSU and Alabama, certainly improving Texas A&M defense, Auburn's defense has been consistently very good for the most part. That's what, because all those teams are just going to key in on the run. And that's to get to 50, 55, 58%, which is by no means crazy impressive. It's going to be the guppies, and it's going to be the wide open deep ball. If you are not going to be hitting in between sorts of passes, the question is, are you able to at least connect on a deep guppy rather than an every down guppy? And I think the answer is yes for me.
This is a full on guppy assault here.
I know.
On this show, by the way.
I do like guppy as a word, clearly. Yeah. So I'm going to say yes. It's a thing that Mississippi State's passing offense becomes competent, not overwhelmingly impressive, but competent from where it has been, where Nick Fitzgerald has been the least, if not second or third least efficient quarterbacks in the conference.
Okay, where are we going next here?
I think Keaton Thompson surges to below average. Surges.
I'm optimistic about Keaton Thompson. I think this is the kind of quarterback who can do really well with Joe Moorhead.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go across the country. Washington State, another state.
Yeah.
They are now going to become, with their second straight season of relying on a grad transfer quarterback to start. I've been there, Washington State. I've been there. It's a rough sledding situation in the second year, or at least it can be in the Pac-12 North. Are they a plug-and-play well offensive school with... His name appears to be Gage Gubrud. Gage Gubrud.
I'm glad you said that. Because
I had to look it up.
This was truly a globe tomato type of situation for me.
I say we go Gage, just to honor your globe roots.
Because everybody mispronounces, I'm assuming, the last name and not the first name.
So Gage Gubrud, who was also pretty menacing in the Star Wars cantina, if I remember correctly. Gage Gubrud. Stay away from me, Gage Gubrud. He is a sixth year. He received a medical redshirt waiver. He comes over from Eastern Washington, same school Vernon Adams dominated at, and then went to Oregon and played very well at. He arrives in Pullman having thrown for like 10,000 yards for the Eastern Washington Eagles over there on the red field. Will he be able to step in for Gardner Minshew, from a Minshew to a Gage, and almost act like nothing has really changed dramatically for Washington State? That he is going to be... I don't think you can expect him to have the personality of Gardner Minshew and that sort of leadership quotient, and maybe that was the difference in a couple games for the Cougs, but that once again, they'll be able to use a grad transfer quarterback and threaten the Pac-12 North late. I don't know that he's good enough to win the Apple Cup. I don't know if anybody's good enough to win the Apple Cup at Washington State with how sort of cursed and stomped Wazoo has been in that matchup since Mike Leach got there. But does the winning trend continue with Gage Gubrud?
Oh, man. I don't know. It's
a tough ask.
It's so difficult to try and project this forward.
I know.
Because you know how it is with grad transfers.
Is the optimism warranted? Is it a thing?
The optimism is warranted, I think, because we've now got some empirical evidence what Mike Leach can do with a grad transfer.
Right.
We've got some empirical evidence on that side that would back up that claim. So from that standpoint, yes, there is plenty of reason for optimism. But look, it's a different player. Gardner Minshew came onto the scene. He had a history behind him where he had been successful elsewhere.
He had been recruited to the air raid by Lincoln Riley at ECU. So a lot of terminology and comfort was there, 100%.
A little bit of a bigger guy, about the same height, but had more mass to him than Gage Gubrud.
Gage Gubrud.
But he's a different player altogether, Gubrud is. He had his best season a couple years ago in 2016. There was a medical red shirt mixed in there. Certainly, if you go on his 2016 numbers, 5,100 yards, 48 passing touchdowns at Eastern Washington, a noted program at the FCS level, there's plenty of cause for optimism there. But I'm just not ready to go there yet. I'm not ready to go there. I understand the cause for optimism, but I don't think I personally am ready to be optimistic just because it's a different player. You never know which grad transfers are going to hit and which aren't. There's a very real chance we could be talking about the quarterback situation at Washington State in week 5, and it's a totally different name.
Yeah, this show is not meant to be necessarily a season preview of these teams. And I think it's important to recognize that. But in terms of him specifically, the hit rate on grad transfer quarterbacks, no matter the success they have at any level, and even though Vernon Adams did dominate, there was more evidence with him specifically because of how he performed against Pac-12 schools that I don't think we necessarily have with Gajay Gubrud. God, that's fun to say.
Oh, God.
If we get nothing else out of this show, it's that Gajay
like
Gubrud.
He can't use the force, but he's force sensitive. He can feel it.
I like that. Thank you. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it is not a thing that Washington State will be plug and play, even though I think they'll have success. They're down, they're all-American caliber left tackle, all-conference caliber left tackle, and Andre Dillard, who will be in the draft coming up. And I just think the hit rate is so low, and you know this, based on what Notre Dame quarterbacks have done elsewhere, sometimes in a grad transfer capacity, that to come in and not just play at a competent level, plugging and playing means being around Gardner Minshew level, who is fringe Heisman. I think that's too much to ask, and I do not think come Thanksgiving the Apple Cup will have Pac-12 North implications going both directions. So mathematically, I'm saying not a thing for plug and play. Washington State still should be pretty good, though.
What I like about this conversation is that it highlights both ways you could play the old gambler's fallacy. Mm-hmm. It really, truly does. So, Mike Leach has had some recent success with grad transfers. If you're like me, maybe you look at the glass a little bit more half empty. Sure, that's not bound to continue because we look at grad transfers elsewhere.
Hope it does.
I hope it does. Yeah, I'm not rooting against it, but the hit rate has not always been as high as you might expect. You could also play it, a different way as well. So we'll see. I love the name, though. It is technically Gage Gubrud, but if we are in agreement here, we could just go Gajay until further notice.
Don't rain on the Gajay parade. What's wrong with you?
Where are we going next?
All right, let's go back to the East Coast and talk Florida State.
Oh God, do we? I got a funny tweet that was in my mentions earlier today. Someone who had just listened to our previous podcast where I made the offhand joke about the Florida State black hole picture.
Are you actually going to do it? Are you going to get a printout of
I'm not actually going to do that. Solid Wife would kill me if I tried that. Okay. But
you should do something spacey with your room, though.
I shouldn't I?
Yeah. Maybe a Neil deGrasse Tyson fathead. Is that not doing it for you?
No, not really.
Okay. Stephen Hawking? Carl Sagan? Nobody?
No, I don't know. We'll talk about this on a later show. But
Matthew McConaughey's crying face in Interstellar?
That could work.
Did you like Interstellar?
I did up until he went behind the bookshelves.
That's rough.
Bookshelves.
That was a rough ending. Apparently there was a different ending that wasn't as on the nose emotional, and it was just sort of him floating through space.
That's where it sort of.
I think that was the Nolan brother.
Yeah.
Who was responsible for the actual ending.
Like theoretically, that scene was possible, but
it's a rough ending.
But to get from where it started to where it ended was a bit of a mental leap.
Sprinting LCD robot through water? Yeah, on board. Fully there. But Gajay Gubrud behind the
bookshelves. We're going into odd territory. Florida State, black holes.
Yes.
The tweet I got from a Florida State fan was, listen. If you're going to do the Florida State black hole thing, can you at least put a picture of Alex Hornibrook photoshopped in the center of it? And I think that's fair. I think we could put Hornibrook on the event horizon of that black hole.
Nothing escapes the Alex Hornibrook overthrow.
Because if Alex Hornibrook gets sucked into the black hole, there's a chance he enters a parallel universe where he's throwing and putting up Gajay Gubrud numbers, 5,100 yards and 48 touchdowns a year.
I'm planting my flag right now and rooting for Alex Hornibrook at Florida State because it just seems like such a backwards, strange fit that I'm all for it. So the question is,
explain to me how you feel about Florida State's offense, where your source of optimism is, outside of Alex Hornibrook? Why should we be excited? Why are people excited?
So the best of Willie Taggart's quote, I think he calls it the Gulf Coast offense, which they tried running last year with all sorts of injuries and issues everywhere, essentially. I think Walt Bell was the offensive coordinator. Now he takes over at UMass. So Kendall Briles enters stage left. And he's had a ton of success in terms of the offenses he's helped to run both at Baylor and Houston. And, quarterbacks have had a pretty easy job finding open men and putting up yards and touchdown totals, whatever. Alex Hornibrook comes from that more under center power system. And I think that they will have some success, but I am hard pressed to even think, like, even if you look at somebody like Bryce Petty, who seemed like, oh, he should be a decent enough pro, and he's been nothing, that they were able to plug and play Baylor quarterback after Baylor quarterback, run the ball really well until big games, and, teach and develop quarterback success pretty consistently. We saw it last year in Houston with the Eric King until he got hurt. So he's had success with not super mobile and mobile quarterbacks. I have to imagine the Florida State offense, with offensive line help, with the talent they have in the backfield, with a pretty stellar recruiting class from a couple of years ago at receiver, that Alex Hornibrook and Kendall Briles and their marriage will ultimately be not necessarily making out at every restaurant like a married couple that is super duper into each other.
Yeah.
But serviceable, workman-like marriage. I think so. I'm going to say yes, competence is a thing in Tallahassee.
A serviceable, workman-like marriage?
A serviceable. So here's what a serviceable, workman-like marriage means to me.
That's like business partners who decide to get married just to make taxes easier.
They come to an agreement more often than not when watching Netflix, right? They have their shows. They're like, a workman-like service. Like, maybe the rest of the show is trying to define what a workman-like service. They're open with their finances.
Oh God.
They alternate selecting restaurants to go out to. They, agree to start saving for their kids' college pretty early on. I'm not saying the passion is there. I'm not saying they're sneaking into an alley for a quickie after dinner, but there's enough crossover and appreciation for each other's abilities that they're able to move forward with success.
I think it's business partners who decide to get married.
Okay.
Out of convenience.
So this is a green card marriage?
No, not a green card. I don't mean that. I'm just talking like two people in business together.
Yeah.
And they decide, taxes are complicated. We spend time around each other all the time, every day, all day.
Yeah.
Why don't we just make this thing official and just move on so people stop asking
rub up
us.
against each other with regularity.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if I
do you
can
agree
add to this at all.
Serviceable workman-like marriage, or do you think it is it seems like lustful, but then it's gonna flame out pretty quick?
Well, I come at this from, I guess, just a pure logical perspective. I don't know what you want to call it, but Florida State was really bad again along their offensive line, and this has been a problem the last couple of years.
Injuries, transfers, walk-ons, anything that could go wrong did.
We're not teaming up on Florida State here. If you're a Florida State fan, these are things you already know. Like, it's been tough to watch the offensive line over the last couple seasons. So I don't think it's going to get a whole lot worse than that.
Right.
My expectation is that it's only going to get better. And I know Willie Taggart had a rough go of it in season one, and that there was some upheaval on the staff and whatnot. But I think he's a good coach. I think he's where he wants to be. He's going to get things going in a good direction. Maybe Jimbo Fisher is the one who looks smarter leaving when he did.
Well, he also that was a personality clash. That was an institutional
it was a game of
request
chicken.
Kind of thing.
It was a game of chicken. And you could argue whether or not he really wanted to go to A&M, but that's a topic for another day.
It's old news at this point, though.
He looks smarter maybe than he was for leaving when he did, given the struggles that we saw from Florida State last season. I think that's fair to say. I don't know about a huge step forward, but I think a step forward, a sizable step forward with that offensive line, with their new offensive coordinator in Kendall Briles, I think that is certainly a very real source of optimism and a good expectation. I think Alex Hornibrook, for as much as I have teamed up on him because of the pop gun arm and all that, he is a real upgrade over James Blackman. I've watched James Blackman. I would take Alex Hornibrook 8 days a week and twice on Sundays, 5 times on Sundays over James Blackman. I think he will at least give them some level of experience that they desperately need at the quarterback position to help steady that ship. There's talent around the Florida State offense. Otherwise, they really just do need to get some experience at quarterback. They need to get a better system in place that everyone can get behind and row in the same direction. And they need to get a little bit more consistent offensive line play. So this is all a long way of saying that while I might not be as optimistic, I am still pretty optimistic that they're going to get things going in a good direction in 2019.
Which quarterback, Ty? Because God, I need to keep digressing to this. Which quarterback, let's say in the last 10 years, would you be neither insulted nor flattered if somebody compared your marriage to him? So, okay, I'm looking at the 2010 quarterback stats. Obviously, Bryant Moniz to you would probably be an insult.
Yes.
After what you've talked about with his pop gun arm.
Right. There's no spark there. It's just that's all. Oh gosh.
I think Aaron Murray would be a compliment.
Sure. I'll take Aaron Murray.
Aaron Murray would be Scott Tolzien. I think that's the magic name. Efficient.
Efficient. Do you want your marriage though to be called efficient?
The Scott Well, I'm saying neither flattered nor insulted.
I think I'd be more insulted with Scott Tolzien.
You'd be insulted with your marriage being called the Scott Tolzien of marriages.
Yes.
I don't think I'd be super.
There's no excitement there.
Geno Smith, probably flattered, given what he did in college.
I would take Geno Smith. It didn't end well, but 50% is what we're looking at nowadays. Marriage statistics.
Greg McElroy?
Greg McElroy, really, he's like the cut line.
Ricky Stanzi, love it or leave it? Would that be I don't think that would be an insult. I wouldn't personally love it, but...
So if I came up to you and I said, Dan and Jody with an I, your marriage really reminds me...
Okay,
it really reminds me of Scott Tolzien or Ricky Stanzi. You would look at me and you kick me out of your apartment.
I'm saying, but who's the most neutral? I'm not saying who's the most flattering or insulting.
Well,
Carson Kaufman?
Ricky Stanzi ain't it, dog.
Ryan Nassib? How about this? Okay, you ready? Would you be taken aback? Would you kick somebody out of your house if they said, I'm not saying your marriage is great. I'm not saying your marriage is bad. Your marriage is the Tino Sunseri of marriages. No?
Greg McElroy is probably the best answer.
Greg McElroy is the most new. I mean, he is the most neutral.
Because he might have been a game manager, but he was a championship winning quarterback and he was very solid. He didn't ever let you down.
TJ Yates, I think, would be a flattering comparison.
We're talking college TJ Yates, not pro.
College TJ Yates. Sean Renfree?
No.
GJ Kinney? Tulsa?
No.
Really? What about Brandon Whedon would be a super duper compliment. College Brandon Whedon of marriages.
I would take Brandon Whedon, yeah. That would be a compliment.
Tino Sunseri is your line. Greg McElroy is where you stand. Tino Sunseri is a bridge too far.
It's a bridge too far. Like, he's not making the cut. Scott Tolzien is right around that cut line. Greg McElroy, though, he's probably perfectly neutral.
Ja'Cory Harris?
No.
That's an insult to you.
Yes.
Austin Carter Samuels?
No.
Wyoming that year.
This is a very weird game we're playing here.
Oh my God.
Was this the hypothetical you told me about?
No, this isn't even the hypothetical I wanted to ask you about.
All right.
Oh man, if somebody said, you know what, your marriage, now that I've spent time around it between you and Jody with an I, is for whatever reason, it just reminds me of Richard Breho. Sir, you leave my house and you forget my address.
Wow. That's a deep cut.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Chaz Dodd?
No.
Okay.
Before we move on, we need to reset here and find our bearings. Catch your breath. Mm-hmm. I'm going to talk about our good friends over at Indochino.
Yeah. Oh, thank God.
Indochino. We had people writing in questions as part of our Q&A. Should I cash in on the Indochino deal? I'm going to get married in a couple months. The answer is yes. The answer is always.
Gosh.
We've had people cash in for that specific reason. Indochino, they make suits and shirts to your exact measurements, which gives you an unparalleled fit, unparalleled comfort. Guys love the wide selection of high-quality fabrics and colors, not to mention you have the option to personalize the details, including your lapel, your lining, your pockets, your buttons. It's an easy process. You can visit a stylist at one of their 40 showrooms in North America and have them take your measurements, or you can measure at home. You can shop online at Indochino.com. That's INDOCHINO.com. Either way, you submit your measurements with your design choices, then you relax, and your suit is going to be professionally tailored. This week, our listeners get any premium Indochino suit for $379 at Indochino.com when you enter the code SOLID, SOLID, at checkout. That's 50% off the regular price for a made-to-measure premium suit. Shipping is free. Again, it's INDOCHINO.com, Indochino.com. The promo code is SOLID. Any premium suit, just $379 and free shipping. Again, an incredible deal for a premium made-to-measure suit. Once you go custom, you're never going to want to go back. Dan, you and I need to actually get together at some point.
We do.
And we need to put this on the calendar so that we can go and be fitted as a collective unit for our Indochino suits.
Fitted as a collective unit. Okay.
Yeah, it was a little awkward for me to say, but now that it's out, now that it's out, it feels right.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Where are we going next?
Danny O'Brien, freshman year only before he transferred, showed promise. I say yes. I say yes, in that I would be flattered by the upside, but thinking our marriage could be better.
Dan, you and Jody with an I are the Dane Christ.
That's not nice. That means we're constantly wounded.
You're wounded, but you had so much promise. There's a leadership quality there.
Yeah.
So maybe the stats aren't on the board, but you still had the respect of your peers.
Can we also agree to shorten, as clunky as it might seem, any former Notre Dame quarterback's first name now that Tommy Rees is now Tom Rees?
Oh, I'm fine with this.
So it would be Rhett Golson.
Yeah.
It would be Day Chris. I don't know how to.
What do we do for Ian Book? E?
Well, he's not former yet. He's not former, so we don't have to worry about
okay.
it. Yeah, so it would be Leek Zaire.
Mm-hmm.
It would be Jim Clausen, which might be the best.
Sean Kaiser?
It'd be Sean Kaiser. Yeah. Just Sean. That's an actual name. And I don't know who else comes up to mind.
Would we go Jar or Reus Jackson?
Jar Jackson.
Jar, yeah.
Jar Jackson. And I guess the last, God, who are other recent Notre Dame quarterbacks now that Tom Rees is spoken for?
Tom Rees.
Tom Rees. By the way, I see a tweet with Tom Rees. Is he the quarterback coach in Notre Dame now?
Yes.
I see that name and you're like, come on. You Tommy. Like a disgusting South Boston weirdo. All right, next school before we just keep digressing into just even further nonsense than usual. Where do you want to go?
Carr Holiday at
was it Carlisle? No, it's Lyle Holiday, right?
No, it was Carlisle Holiday.
I know, but Lyle is the natural.
We could do Lyle.
Lyle Holiday.
Nas Battle is the best one.
Nas Battle. Oh,
back in 2000. All right, we really got to move on here.
Okay.
Pick a school.
Let's go with something that I think is going to be uplifting because this is a spring positivity podcast. Kansas State and their just aggressively average defense from 2018 at the end of the Bill Snyder era is reinvigorated in the Chris Kleiman era and the Scotty Hazelton era, the successful defensive coordinator from Wyoming. And Kansas State is that alternate to the Big 12's offensive firepower, that they're the change up in that all of a sudden teams scoring 47 or scoring 19, your precious 19. That Kansas State in year one, with what they return, especially up front, and with Scotty Hazelton's background with linebackers, Chris Kleiman's defensive background with defensive backs, that even though they're replacing a lot in the defensive backfield, given where I was going to say Pac-12, given where the Big 12 is offensively, Kansas State is the ethos.
The ethos, I like that.
Thank you.
So here's what I'd like you to do. I'm very optimistic about Scotty Hazelton. I'm very optimistic about Chris Kleiman.
Great
that
beard.
was an outstanding hire. Of course, there was some familiarity with the K-State AD and Kleiman from their time at North Dakota State. I think
it is year one, though. It's year one.
It's year
one.
Might
be a lot to ask.
I think longer term, though, that is an outstanding hire. And among all the new hires that we've seen, some really good hires, I think, this coaching offseason, I think I'm most excited about this one. If only because we saw that infrastructure, we saw that apparatus up close and personal.
Takes a while, though.
When we went up to Fargo. It does take a while, but
takes a long time.
They built the thing up there, and that was exciting to see up close and personal. I want you to go out to the official K-State Athletics website.
Okay.
If you could.
Okay.
And just run a quick Google image search on Scotty Hazelton.
Oh, yeah, I've already done this. If that's not reason for optimism.
This beard is a national treasure.
Yeah, it's pretty wonderful.
Not only is it full and a little salt and pepper, but he has somehow achieved a perfect straight line at the bottom of the beard.
It's unbelievable.
I don't even know how you do this.
Right.
It's like he dipped the bottom of his beard into a wood chipper.
You know who Trey Kirby is,
across. Ty? Yeah, I do. From the starters.
It's like if Trey Kirby had, from the starters on NBA TV, if he had like a grizzled giant uncle.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what Scotty Hazelton looks like.
I'm very optimistic about K-State's chances. The defense does need to get better.
Yeah. And it had been in a good place. But last year they certainly took a step back with some of their offensive troubles as well, leaving that defense on the field for a while. I think it's going to be a thing. I don't know if Kansas State is an 8-win team, but I don't think it'll be because of their defense. I think they could have a pretty good half team at the very least.
Right.
I think the transition is going to be more apparent and hit more speed bumps on offense than it will on defense. Even so, you have Oklahoma, new quarterback, Oklahoma State, new quarterback, and new offensive coordinator. Iowa State brings back Brock Purdy like a Brock star. Kansas should be a mess this year at least, and probably the next couple of years. Texas, it looks to be in pretty good shape, lose a couple playmakers on offense. TCU has had a whole bunch of quarterback upheaval, and even if their offense is okay, that's an improvement over where it's been. So I don't think you can expect a ton from the Horned Frogs this year. West Virginia is going through their own transition and new quarterback. So Kansas State's defense, I think, could be a pretty nice EFIS.
What I like about a team that could have an EFIS defense try saying
the
that
defense, I guess.
Try saying that 20 times fast in the Big 12 is having a defense in the Big 12 puts you at a bit of an advantage. It puts you at a bit of an advantage. And we're not saying here that they're going to come out and be gangbusters right away on defense. But if they can get some consistency on that side of the ball, that gives them a really good chance to make some noise in the Big 12 to at least be that EFIS, that defense.
And it's a new defense. So there's not a ton of film of these players playing into this scheme, which is either good or bad. It could be really great.
I'm very optimistic, as I think you are as well.
Yeah. Okay. So
let's move on. Let's do one or two more schools.
I think this is just our final item.
Okay.
Well, you added a couple.
No, do yours. Go ahead.
We'll
talk about mine later.
And we've done Penn State too much. I'll give you a brief window for Penn State. We've talked about Florida, but I wanted to make it all states. So Michigan State's offense dashes just is a lightning bolt of average, which would be an enormous improvement with whoever is running things, whoever ends up as the quarterback. I guess if it's Brian Lewerke once again, and they should be healthier with Jalen Naylor outside, but they stride, they sprint, they lunge towards an average offense.
Okay. Brian Lewerke and Michigan State as a whole had issues with injuries.
Yeah, they did.
Huge injury problems last year. I think even in 2017, Lewerke was talking about how he played through injury, played through pain. Presumably he's healthy now. Presumably.
I would assume, yeah, on his road to it, yeah.
That would be nice. I think Brian Lewerke is still a pretty good quarterback, and when he had a chance to play and when he was healthy and when he had a little bit more structure around him, a little bit more stability around him, he was pretty good. We were pretty optimistic about Lewerke headed into this season. last season, I should say. And, that did not work out for a multitude of reasons. There were also times earlier in the year when Lewerke, it looked like he wanted to stretch the field. And he had some success with that. If they can get back to a healthy Brian Lewerke and maybe stretching the field a little bit more, I think there's plenty of optimism that they could at least surge back to average, as you've got here on our doc. I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation. And I think it should be the expectation now as we move forward. Like if you're a Michigan State fan and you get more of what you saw last year, injury or no injuries, there's going to be upheaval. People are going to be very upset just with the team as a whole, the direction of the program. I would imagine hot seat conversations if you can't get more of a consistent look on offense. So that needs to be, I think, your baseline for 2019, just getting back to a point where you feel like there's an average product offensively.
Yeah, I mean, we're not all that far removed from, was it 2014, 2015, a Kirk Cousins season in which they were, not Kirk Cousins, a Connor Cook season which they were full on really good. They were probably one of the 5 to 7 best offenses in the country in terms of what they did per drive, not necessarily the points they put up in the game, but they were incredibly efficient.
Yeah, well, and look, to your point, you don't need to be Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley to have a good offense, to have a productive offense, not in the Big 12, not in the Big 10, not anywhere in college football. You just need to be more consistent. You need to present some variety for opponents. Michigan State didn't do that. And there were, again, a multitude of reasons why, but they need to be able to do that again in order to get back to that at least average level of offensive output.
And that new offensive mind for Michigan State who's going to come in and take them to average is... Oh, wait, no, they just changed the positions of all of their coaches. I'm not buying it. I don't think they surged to average.
No?
I think I think the Big Ten is improving too much, especially on defense, or at least staying at a high enough level where you got to show me something. You got to show me a new hire. You got to show me a tweaked system. You have to show me a redshirting quarterback with all the promise in the world, or the quarterback was injured last year, or there's this huge infusion of offensive skill, a transfer, a graduate, like the whole offensive line was hurt, whatever it was. And I know they had injury issues last year and they're going to be at least presumably healthier to start the year, but I do not see a big enough catalyst to get them to average. I think that's too big a leap with how incompetent they looked last year, even with injuries.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're down on Michigan State.
I watched the entirety of that, whatever the bowl they were in against Oregon is called. I don't think it's the Foster Farms Wild Red Box Bowl.
Yeah.
Am I hitting that correctly?
Sure.
And I know how good Oregon's 2018 their defense was, which is below average, and they were not able to do much. So I'm just, even with bowl results not meaning a ton to me, that's the most recent thing I've seen, and the taste is going to be harder to wash out than I was willing to admit. So
the other thing that I'll add here quickly, and you kind of touched on it, but they need to get better, not just a quarterback, but the running game's been an issue. The line play was an issue last year, a real big issue. I think they bring back pretty much everybody from their starting offensive line, everyone who played in the bowl game at least. And
I've been told that before, Ty. I've been hurt before.
And my point is that might not even be a good thing given the state of affairs last year. So it really is.
It almost like if you were to say like the offense is going to get better because they're losing 8 starters, like, you know what? I'll roll some dice on that fact.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not always the case. There. More often than not, it's a case that you bring a lot back. The offense, the personnel improves, but not always. And I'm not sure that's the case here, at least along the offensive line for Michigan State. So I am optimistic, probably more optimistic than you, but we're not talking the same level of optimism that I feel for, say, Florida State.
Or Keaton Thompson as a playmaker.
Keaton Thompson.
Put in the right situation.
Keaton Thompson.
That there's no track record with this staff right now, recent track record with this staff like you have in the back of your head with Joe Moorhead and Mississippi State.
Fair.
Right?
Yes. Thank you.
Jeff Toole. If I said...
No, because his name is Jeff Toole.
It's Tuel.
Doesn't matter. It's still Toole.
If I said your marriage is successful enough, but it's sort of a system marriage, Your marriage is sort of a product of you both coming from good families, you both having decent jobs, you both having you're both sensible people. If I said you had a Jeff Toole marriage, you would not take huge umbrage.
It's a Jeff Toole marriage. Yes, I would.
Early Jeff Toole had a lot of promise. I don't think you can be insulted
and say, I really admire your Jeff Toole marriage.
Throw the name out.
She would not find that a compliment.
Almost 60%, and I know completion percentage numbers are not necessarily accurate within an air raid, but 60% essentially completion percentage, 18 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, 133 quarterback rating, which was good for 51st in the country, or more broadly speaking, above average.
No, it's Jeff Toole. It's Jeff freaking Toole. No.
Stephen Threet?
How many games did Stephen Threet play?
Zach Collaros?
No.
26-14?
Where are you finding this list of quarterbacks?
CFB stats, of course. You can't. Carson Kaufman did enough for Kansas State.
Oh, man, I don't know.
Really?
I don't know.
I mean, Steven Garcia, you would be flattered, but you know that there was some spice involved in that compliment of sorts.
Clint Trickett.
Oh, Clint Trickett. Not a huge track record of success, but decent enough. I'd be fine with it. I wouldn't be insulted. I wouldn't say you take that back.
Clint Trickett's in that meaty neutral zone that I think we're looking for here.
Okay. I have a question for you.
Yes.
That I'm going to relate to college football before we leave. And this is something that I've thought about a lot in the last few days that I think you are uniquely able to answer because I think you think about this a lot.
Okay.
So Tiger Woods just won the Masters.
I'm fired up about Tiger Woods winning the Masters.
This is why I'm asking you this.
Yes, I'm very fired up about this.
So as I'm watching, I don't care either way. I'm not a huge golf fan, and it was fun watching Tiger Woods when he went on his run as a younger golfer. And then obviously he went through both by his own accord and just nature taking its toll physically, went through some challenges.
That is.
And then made his way back.
An understatement, yes.
One, why are people so fired up that he won a major first? Because a lot came out about him that was ugly. Not even just like the sex addict stuff, but just how he treated people. And there's all these books about how
we are
just not a good dude. And so I understand like you separate the athlete from the person and how much the athlete meant to you when he or she was succeeding. But why the overwhelming emotion over Tiger Woods given the complete picture?
So now we are definitely diverting off the college.
I'm going to go back to college football with this. I'm going back to college.
No, you're going back to college. Well, I mean, he is Michael Jordan of an era. And so there's a certain sense of nostalgia there. Mm-hmm. I think for people in our general age bracket.
Brought a ton of people to golf, for sure.
And, so, and there's no denying that there are missteps in his past that you can't look at very favorably.
Crashed into a tree while hopped up on pain pills, running away from his wife who found out he was cheating on him with like 7,000 women.
It's a black eye.
Yeah.
It's a black eye.
And I get moving on from it. I get all that. It's super fascinating to me.
There is definitely a paradox there.
Yeah.
That I think you're right to question. From my standpoint, as an athlete, solely as an athlete, and you and I have debated whether or not golf is a sport. So we won't have that
I think
debate.
Tiger Woods is undeniably athletic, but yes.
Absolutely. I would say solely as an athlete, he was the Michael Jordan of a generation.
Yeah,
and
or if not ever. Yeah.
To recapture some of that past glory, just solely as a sports fan, not looking at what happened personally.
Right.
That in and of itself is very exciting. So that for me is why I'm pumped.
Okay. That's all. I mean, that's all reasonable. I'm exceedingly curious because we know more about athletes than we ever have. And so we're able to fill in a more complete picture, which makes things more complicated.
I've never looked at athletes as role models. And so I guess for me, it's been easier to get excited. But I do understand where some people come from when they say I'm I'm done with Tiger because of that. I get that too.
I was seeing tweets from people at like 4 a.m. like, can't sleep, too nervous. Oh my God, what's going to happen today?
No, I slept fine. I slept fine.
I know, I'm sure you did. But
I watched.
These are sports writers who are heavily invested. It's just, that was fascinating to me. I watched the end of it on my phone in a restaurant, and it was cool to see for sure. It was just, it's a weird dichotomy. Whatever.
I get it.
Follow up. Could we ever have a redemption story? And as much as you think the Tiger Woods, winning the Masters is a redemption story, a comeback story like that in, I guess, any other sport? And could it happen in college football, knowing that like the best of the best transformative players are only playing 3 years, or it would have to happen with a coach in some fashion?
Okay.
What is funny is we had a cheating crash story already with the college coach. Though he was nowhere near the influence and the champion that Tiger Woods was. Could you foresee that type of quote unquote redemption story happening in our sport, where a player is transformative, beloved, a coach is transformative, beloved? I don't even know who the last universally beloved and transformative championship coach is, but could that happen in our sport?
So you're talking Bill Snyder at age 120 coming back to win 8 games.
But he was, I'm talking about should we just paint the most hypothetically likable college football coach?
Well, I'm going to posit a guess here on this one, a situation.
Yeah.
It doesn't have all the elements of combustibility that, say, a Tiger Woods did, but would Mac Brown returning to North Carolina to win a national championship have some of those ingredients?
It might. I don't think so. Okay, never the transformative coach that Tiger Woods was as a golfer. He won a national championship
for Texas.
But he wasn't winning right. I suppose the stadium's still named Darrell K. Royal.
Okay.
They didn't change the name to Mac Brown Stadium. Nick Saban's the closest coach we've had to that level of champion that Tiger Woods is, but
Agreed.
He was never the influence and the figure looming over the sport and bringing people to the sport and having not video games, because there's no coaching video game that in the way that there is a Tiger Woods golf kind of thing. But as a personality, Nick Saban is nowhere there. So basically you'd have to have a coach, this hypothetical coach having a redemption story. This hypothetical coach would have to be like, use elements of like the Mac Brown governor type of figure with Mike Leach and the wackiness, doing stuff. This hypothetical coach is paragliding with The Rock. This hypothetical coach has like the Chip Kelly influence with the spread, winning. But
I was going to say Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly has some ingredients of it.
Right. So I'm saying, we're basically putting together a recipe, a cocktail of the most likable coach. Steve Spurrier with the folksiness and the winning. Like, I think everybody outside of Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida State fans and Clemson fans, I suppose, are pretty up on Steve Spurrier as just like, oh, that's a likable guy. So you throw all of these elements into a casserole. And so this is the clear most likable coach. Everybody likes him. He recruits well. Maybe he's not winning because as much as Nick Saban, because then you start being hated because you're winning too much. But whatever the cocktail is, you have Pete Carroll's charisma, and you put that all into a coach. And then there is just like this enormous downfall where he's fired. It's a combination of crashing into a tree with an employee and any scandal you can think of. Players are being paid, whatever. But it's ultimately, he's not doing anything. He didn't. There's no manslaughter accusation. There's no arson. There's nothing crazy. It's relatively victimless. And he comes back and is charming and wins a national championship. Is that even remotely anywhere near? Because I don't even know if that is.
Yeah, I think you could go around college football. You can find ingredients. You can find some situations that maybe get you part of the way there. But we're talking ultimately with Tiger as a once in a generation kind of thing, a once in a lifetime kind of thing. To find any reasonable facsimile in college football is really tough. You're really straining to try and find a situation that rises to that level.
Okay, here's my final situation. we have an Instagram influencer who also happens to be a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school.
Okay.
So the levels of fame are off the charts. I couldn't name for you a 16-year-old teen influencer, but let's say you have somebody going into college with millions of adoring followers kind of thing, right?
Sure.
So there's some kind of charm and charisma and personality baked into this person who also happens to have 5-star athletic ability. He goes on to play quarterback at USC, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Texas, you name it, whatever. Some blue blood, and he just kills it. He is incredible. He throws 41 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He throws for 4,000 yards. He runs for 800. Like, he is just the most unanimous, crazy Heisman runaway that we've seen in the recent era. Like, there's just so much to, he's volunteering overseas. He's winning college Jeopardy. There's just like, what can't he do? Okay. Are you with me?
Yeah.
This is, I mean, it's far-fetched, but it's, within one version of Earth possible.
And then he has a fake girlfriend, or are we going man to
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to go with. I was going to go, there's something dark and weird, and maybe he is, like, maybe it's as far as, like, he has a famous girlfriend that's also beloved. Okay. So he's dating fellow influencer Y. Okay. And she is beloved, and he is cheating on her with somebody he's just being catfished by. Like, it's just a very strange dynamic.
And maybe his girlfriend's mother paid exorbitant sums for her to get into USC.
Sure. It's Lori Loughlin's daughter.
Okay. This is getting very weird.
It's getting very weird, ripped out of the headlines. But so there's a weird situation. He gets in a car crash, running away from his real girlfriend to his fake girlfriend who doesn't exist. And it's just very strange. And so he's out for a year because of said car crash. He breaks his leg in 1,000 different pieces. And he is rebuilt like the $6 million man, has bolts everywhere in his leg. And not only does he come back, but he decides, you know what? Ohio State or Texas or USC, whatever, too big of a fishbowl for me. Okay. And he decides to transfer to, what is the most likable, like, not FCS, but the most likable group of 5 school? He goes to, like, I don't know. Temple. No, it's Northeast. It's not college. It won't get the attention of college football in the same way a place in the South. He goes to Troy. He goes to South Florida. He goes to Houston. He goes
North Dakota State.
Nope, that's FCS. I'm saying group of 5.
Oh, group of 5. Okay.
So he leads an underdog. Nobody believes in us. Nobody wants to put us in the playoff. But that year.
Oh, okay. I got you.
That year, they make it to the playoff because this superstar influencer 5-star blue chip quarterback with a fake girlfriend decides he doesn't want the fishbowl life in one of those places. He is going to lead North Texas, which is my now perfect school, for this because it's in Texas. So you have the attention of the college football world. He leads the Mean Green to the playoff, and they beat Alabama in the national championship game. I think we start approaching that level.
We start approaching it, but it's still not even close.
That's crazy.
It's still not even close.
Man,
there's not enough of a track record there. You could never get that kind of track record in college football if you're a player and not a coach.
Yeah. His parents are both veterans. He is man. I'm really trying to add as much as I possibly can to this Sunday. As many cherries on top as possible.
You can't get there.
I'm trying to. His dad is the rock. He is the pebble. I don't. Yeah, you're right. You're totally right.
You can't get there.
That's as close as you can get, isn't it?
That's about as close as you can get.
Yeah, victimless, has to sit out a year to sort of regroup and recuperate. Man, I don't know how you get more likable and more in terms of eyeballs on you in a positive way. Have that ugly fall and come back, with your tail between your legs and topple a giant.
I don't know. I don't know if it's possible in college football.
Can I give you one more quarterback name? Absolutely. Jeff Godfrey, UCF. You and the solid wife, Kate, are the Jeff Godfrey.
Oh, God. I'm going to stick with Clint Trickett as the cut line.
All right. Was Jeff Godfrey the one who beat Florida State?
I don't remember.
Okay.
One final thought here from your boy Mario Cristobal. Weather update for the spring game. He posted this 45 minutes ago. Clear skies, 100% chance of physicality and explosiveness. Hashtag go Ducks.
Hashtag go Ducks. Well, I just looked up Jeff Godfrey and it's a mugshot, so maybe we'll edit that.
Okay. Well, on that note, thank you to everyone out there who listened to this show. Don't forget our website, solidverbal.com. Our email is solidverbal@gmail.com. If you've got anything you'd like to get off your chest, you can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the social media hotspots, as well as Reddit. We've got a budding community of verballers out there who chat up all of our shows at reddit.com/r/solidverbal. Don't forget, also on our website, you can sign up for our newsletter. We send out our biggest announcements there. At some point over the next few months, I'm assuming we're going to do another t-shirt sale. Get those out there for folks who might be interested. Started getting more and more requests for our t-shirts, so stay tuned for that.
Got a new summer shirt. Yep.
New summer shirt, sure. So we've got a bunch of stuff going down. Dan's got a podcast. At some point, we'll start talking live shows for the coming college football preseason. So a lot of stuff yet to be said here in the infancy of this college football offseason. Next week is the draft.
It is.
As I said earlier, we're not going to do the draft preview show because it puts our draft buddies in a weird spot. They got to try and predict things. Nobody likes predicting things because predictions are always wrong. So this time, for the first time ever in 11 or 12, however many years we've been doing this show, we're going to do a draft retrospective, looking back at some of our favorite college stars, how they fit in with their new pro teams, so on and so forth. We will be back next Wednesday, have another show for you, but we're not going to be talking about the draft until afterwards. For those of you
may I shamelessly promote something even further? God,
please.
I'm the worst. Just because you mentioned the draft, and just because I don't know if we'll be doing a show before then, I will be co-hosting Sports Illustrated's live NFL draft show with a number of people, and one of those persons is Andy Staples.
Oh, excellent.
And so our dear friend Andy Staples and myself, hopefully your dear friend, will be talking about guys being drafted as they're being drafted in their college context. So like, oh, well, here's a fun fact about Kyler Murray and Texas A&M, ended real poorly. And we'll also be cooking food because that's also what we like to do. So I can't tell you the exact address because I don't know where to go to watch it. But, you know, if you're not following SI Now on Twitter, that would be a good place to start because we'll be streaming all through the first round of the draft and having fun with all sorts of people and food. And it'll be very casual.
Your George Foreman grills. Yeah. Excellent.
Oh,
excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, it's been fun as always. I will talk to you again in a week. Enjoy the rest of your time in Chicagoland and safe travels back to New York. I guess the next time I talk to you, you'll be back in New York.
This is true.
For that guy over there, Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildenbrand over here. Thanks again for tuning into the show. Enjoy the rest of your week, all of your weekend, and in the meantime, till we catch you next time, stay solid.
Peace.